you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all.
Hello, everyone. This is Ray Renati from Green Room on Air, a part of Green Room Radio. It's so good to hear from you today. Well, you're hearing from me. I'm not hearing from you. Whatever. You know, we have a great show for you today. You have to stay tuned because I have Mr. Bruce Vilanch as my guest. If you ever watched Hollywood Squares from 1998 on and you see his picture, you'll know who he is. He's unmistakable. Unmistakable. What's the word? I don't know. We have a great conversation. We talked about all kinds of cool stuff down in Hollywood, including David Letterman. We talked about David Letterman and the late, great Robin Williams and Johnny Carson and Mr. Vilanch's good friend Bette Midler. I am about to get in the car right now and head to Los Angeles, California, Tinseltown, Hollywood. Going down there with the fam. We're going to go to Paramount Studios, maybe Disneyland. I don't know. I'm going to go meet up with my friend Rob Derringer, who was recently in Queen America, a Facebook TV show, playing opposite Catherine Zeta-Jones. That was quite something to see. The first episode he appeared, which I think was episode 4. Him and Mrs. Michael Douglas. That was cool. So that's happening. But what I'd like to talk about now is Mr. Bruce Vilanch. He has a show that he is going to be a part of coming up here in San Francisco on Father's Day this weekend. It's called Broadway Bears. San Francisco Strips 4. This is the 4th time they've done it. Sunday, June 16th. 2019 at the DNA Lounge in San Francisco. Doors open at 7. Show starts at 8. It's at 375 11th Street in San Francisco near Harrison. The proceeds benefit Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and REAF. The director is Damien. The production director is Emily Schreck. Artistic director Leanne Borghesi, who just sang at Carnegie Hall in New York City. And the executive producers are Ken Henderson and Joe Seiler. It's a great cause. It's very San Francisco. If you want to go see a bunch of hunky dudes in G-strings and some dudes dressed as women in almost, with almost nothing on, and a bunch of great dancers and singers and some very low comedy that will probably have you splitting your side in laughter. Go check it out this Father's Day. What a thing to bring your father to, really, you know? Bring your dad to comic strips this Father's Day. I hope my children bring me. I really do. A lot of fun. Anyway, let's get right to my interview here with Mr. Bruce Vilanch. I need to apologize in advance. The recording quality is not the greatest, although Bruce sounds pretty good. He must have been on a landline. I was using my cell phone, and it didn't work out so well. You can hear most of what I say, but it's not all that great. But he sounds just fine, and he did 90% of the talking. So I still think you will really find this interview a lot of fun. Let me tell you a little bit about Bruce before I start the interview. Bruce is one of the most sought-after jokesmiths in the entertainment industry, and that is absolutely true. He was the head comedy writer for the Oscars for many, many years. He is Bette Midler's writer. He writes all of her jokes. Well, I'm sure she writes some, but he writes most of them. He worked with Johnny Carson, David Letterman, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Whoopi Goldberg, and the list goes on. Donny and Marie, even. Donny and Marie, that's impressive. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Mr. Bruce Vilanch.
I remember seeing you on Hollywood Squares all the time. I used to love watching that show.
Great. With your grandmother.
Exactly, with my grandmother.
I get those now. I get people who say, "Oh, my grandmother and I used to watch you on Hollywood Squares. You were so funny."
Well, I'm 57, so I was a little older than that. But
okay.
Now, I used to watch Jeopardy with my grandmother during the day.
Yeah.
You have the show coming up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That Lawrence told me about.
Yeah.
And
Broadway Bears.
Broadway Bears, yes.
The San Francisco version, which is, got to be even barrier than Broadway.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be, because it's in San Francisco.
So true.
I've been in, I went to Pride Parade in London and then in Miami, and I'd been to the one in the city quite a few times, and I'm like, they don't know how to do this.
They're not sure. Listen, this is a town where they jump on stage to harass Kamala Harris.
Exactly. Who would have thought?
I mean, so anything goes. I mean, they not only chase the enemy, they chase the friend. So it's crazy.
Right. You can't get away with anything.
I know.
So, Broadway Bears is the traditional sort of burlesque show in a modernized San Francisco style.
Exactly right. It started in New York a while back. I've emceed it a few times and been in it a few times. It's basically a striptease. It's all these fabulously hunky Broadway chorus boys and spectacular-looking Broadway chorus girls dressed in next to nothing, and they're doing burlesque routines and stripper routines and elaborate kind of show stuff. And this is the San Francisco version is, it's slightly smaller. We're doing it in a I don't know how big DNA is. I mean, in New York, we used to do the Roseland, which was a gigantic ballroom with a balcony and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what DNA is like. But the elements won't change. It'll still be hot people in next to nothing doing suggestive stuff.
Right.
And in between, there will be low comedy.
Very low.
Very low. Yeah, you're a low comedy expert here.
I was just listening to your joke about the cat on YouTube.
Oh, the cat. Yeah, I know. It's a great favorite. You know, I was scared of YouTube. I thought, well, my God, they'll put your entire act on YouTube and you can look at it for free and all that. And then I was, I don't do my show all that often, but I was doing it once and somebody said, tell the cat story. And I thought, oh my God, I have a hit. It's like being a singer coming out and, it's like Elton John coming out and they say, Tiny Dancer. Oh my God, I have a hit. If they want to hear it. Well, it doesn't matter if they've heard it before. They want to hear it again.
It's the way you tell it.
It's so exciting. I called Bette Midler. I said, I have my own rose.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Yes. Now, speaking of Bette Midler, you used to work with Bette Midler.
I still do. When she works, she's not doing anything live or any concert performances or anything at the moment. I don't know that she won't do them anymore, but at the moment there's no compelling reason. We toured a couple of years ago, and then she went to Broadway with Hello, Dolly. So yeah. So I don't think that she's working for she's doing movies actually right now. So and TV, she's doing Ryan Murphy's his Netflix series.
Oh, what's
so I think it's called The Politicians, and it's got one of his all-star casts in it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly how big or how little her role is, but that's what she's up to right at the moment. So yes, I still work with her. You were going to ask something, though. This was a question.
Well, I have a friend who did a cabaret show based on her music. Her name's Carly Ozard. I don't know if you know Carly or not.
If I know who?
Carly Ozard?
Yeah, I know Carly.
Yeah,
I do. I've done benefits with her up there. I do these benefits for Richard Pryor AIDS Foundation, which is, of course, the beneficiary of Broadway Bears, that along with Broadway Cares, which is the Actors Equity AIDS charity in New York that also does work around the country. And Richmond Irma, which is specifically the Bay Area, I've done many benefits with them, and Carly has been on them.
Yes. Okay. I thought I'd seen you together on something. And you used to work for the Oscar group for a while.
Yeah, I wrote
You've done a lot of their writing.
25 Oscar shows. Yeah.
Wow, how exciting!
I know. It's a whole little history.
Yeah, and you grew up in New York City?
I live in L.A. Is that what were you asking?
No,
if I live in New York City?
Grow up in New York?
As I grow up, I did. I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey, which is 12 miles across the George Washington Bridge when Chris Christie lets them open it.
Yeah.
And I grew up there, and in New York, I was back and forth because there was no hope in Paterson, so I was always racing across the bridge to New York.
Yeah.
So that I consider it my hometown, but I haven't actually lived there as an adult.
Right.
I spend a lot of time there, but I haven't actually lived there. I've been down here in L.A. for 150 years.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations on New Jersey has run out.
Yeah, well, I can't blame you on that. It can take quite a while to get over there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I just was looking at your bio here. It's just fantastic. And then when I saw you, of course, I'd seen you so many times on TV and different things. I didn't realize who I was going to be talking to here today.
Yeah, well.
It's quite exciting for me.
There you go. Yes. You see me on post office walls and compromising Instagrams.
Yeah. So, what are you going to be doing in this show? Are you telling jokes, singing, both?
I am. Well, this show it's the Villains Ball.
Yeah.
It's a comic strip is the theme of the show. So it's all characters from comic strips, and that will be highlighting the villains. The villains will be doing a lot of the stripping. And a lot of I guess, heavy lifting. It depends on how much they have when they strip.
Yeah.
But I will, Leanne Borghesi and I will be kind of like a little bit of comic relief. We'll be doing some comic book characters.
Okay.
And I don't want to ruin any surprises because some of them are sight gags, but they will be funny characters in the comic strips as opposed to the villains. Because I found a great song. There was a show called The Life, which was a musical about Times Square in the 70s when, everything couldn't be sleazier. And one of the big numbers, the first act closer in that show was the Hookers Ball, where all the hookers go to party once a year. And so we converted that to the Villains Ball because the lyrics made perfect sense. And it's kind of like Cats. Cats is all about all these cats getting together once a year and auditioning to be the cat that gets to go to heaven, as opposed to hell where all the other cats go. And people think Cats has no plot, but that's the plot of Cats. And so we're sort of doing a version of that, where all the villains are getting together to prove which one of them is the greatest villain of them all. I'm already overthinking it because basically people are going there to look at bodies.
Yes, I'm looking at the postcard right now. That's pretty much all I noticed.
Yeah, but it's right. It's the lowest common denominator review, which personally gets my vote every time.
Exactly. Well, villains are in now, so that's good. I mean, they're all over the movies and all over the TV.
I know, and this fall, Jared Leto is the Joker in a movie all about him.
Right.
It's all about the Joker. So,
well, the Joker's an interesting character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Leanne Borghesi, I've done a couple of shows with her. She's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. She's fun. Yeah. I've done a few things too. She's from Carnegie Hall to this. She just did a show at Carnegie Hall, and now she is, coming to something where she has to have her jugs hanging out, in some sort of strange phosphorescent brassiere.
Well, she'll love it. She'll love that.
Yeah, exactly. She'll be happy.
Yeah. It's so great to see how well she's done. So great to see your friends succeeding so well. I have all these friends on Broadway now, and
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It is. I love it.
It is great. It's the opposite of Schadenfreude, you know. Not only must I succeed, my friends must fail. It's so nice not to have to adopt that. You know, I mean, that's what keeps Hollywood going. Everybody in media, they're just gleeful when somebody else, you know, stubs their toe, steps on their cock in a major way.
You know, it's so opposite from that in San Francisco for some reason. I mean, not that that doesn't go on, but people kind of make an effort to go in direct.
I know. Well, San Francisco, I mean, traditionally, San Francisco has been a city where people go to be comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
And part of that is acceptance of the other guy. And that's one of the things that makes San Francisco so pleasant to be in, for all of the urban restlessness in there and unsavoriness. There's that overwhelming feeling, which we hope will remain now that, you know, everybody works for Google, and the only people who can afford to actually live in the city are people who own, you know, pieces of Japan.
Oh, I know. I live right next to Google and Facebook. I live down in the South Bay, and hundreds of buses going up there every night. You know, back up to the city where everyone lives.
I know, and they probably say, but you know, we're using asparagus as fuel, so that's so it's okay.
Right? Exactly. You have to assuage your guilt in some way. So this is happening on June 16th. It's called...
That is correct. Father's Day, of all things.
Father's Day,
yes. So this is dedicated to Father Nelson and Father O'Rourke and all those nice fathers who were so nice to gay children.
Yeah, maybe they'll show up.
Yeah, really.
And get arrested.
That's right, and just get arrested. Father's Day, Sunday, June 16th.
Yeah.
DNA, which...
DNA Lounge.
DNA Lounge, which I'm guessing is South of Market, and if it's not, why not?
Yeah, it's 375 11th Street near Harrison. Yes, it is South of Market.
See, it would have to be. It would have to be.
I think it's a pretty good size. It's usually a dance place, I think.
I hear that. Well, I hope it has a nice, roomy backstage, because there's going to be a lot of people running around in jockstraps trying to find a corner to pretty themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. So, what else do we need to know about this show? It's a benefit for the AIDS Foundation.
It's a benefit for Richmond Ermit AIDS Foundation, which has expanded. I'm happy to say, actually, it's expanded its mission to include the homeless, because there are fewer cases of AIDS being reported, and many of the charities that Richmond Ermit used to support have changed their mission because there aren't as many people who need their help. So it's moved into the homeless field because those people really need help.
Yeah.
And so it's and it's in the spirit of the thing. I don't know, but Richmond Ermit was started basically by two women who met in the AIDS ward because their sons both had AIDS, and one of them was a very wealthy socialite type, and the other was a cocktail waitress. Oh. And they banded together to form this charity. And there was actually a friend of mine was there when it started, and wrote a movie about it, which was done for television. It's called, and it's worth looking at. It's called Our Sons, and it's Julie Andrews as the rich girl and Anne Margaret as the cocktail waitress. It's a very good movie, and it's about how the charity started.
The Richmond Ermit AIDS Foundation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. I'll have to check that out.
So that's where the money's going, and the show itself is just, it's like nonstop music and laughs. A lot of really spectacular and inventive production number stuff involving a lot of nudity, or striptease nudity. I mean, it's not like hardcore nudity. It's not porn. If it were porn, I'd have more to do in the show. But, I don't do porn unless they're shooting it in IMAX.
Yes, you have to get the full effect.
Exactly right. I have standards. They're low, but I have them.
Yes, we all must. Well, the website looks wonderful. Support for HIV programs, feeding the needy, hunger programs, and underserved youth programs.
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, the homeless issue, the homeless situation in San Francisco right now is way out of hand. I really hope get it.
Yeah, well, it's because it's a very compassionate place,
Yeah.
I mean, so word about that spreads, and people show up because they know that they will not be treated poorly there, or as poorly as they will be in certain other communities. So
because they'll be tolerated and even
exactly
they won't be shunned.
I think they should start an ad campaign.
So many people
say San Francisco is not as warm as you think. Forget the palm trees in Union Square. It's basically brilliant sunshine and freezing temperatures.
I remember last year one day I was driving in downtown. It was in the 90s, and then I drove over to like Fly Shacker over there, and it was in the 50s.
I know. It's the world of the microclimate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, sure. People call each other. Only in San Francisco they call each other and say, "What's the weather like over there?" And they're calling from Castro to Noe Valley,
4 miles away.
Right.
No, not even as the crow flies.
Right.
by windy road.
Right.
So you've had just a fantastic career. I mean, it's really impressive.
Thanks.
I'm a little jealous.
I used to live. You can catch up.
I'm 57 years old. I used to live near Whoopi Goldberg. I used to live near her. I lived like a block away from her when I was in college. When she was in Berkeley.
When she was in Berkeley, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw her around with her big hair and stuff. I didn't really know who she was.
Right.
You do some gigs in the city and at the Julie Morgan and places. And
that's right.
Yeah.
That's when she was just starting out. Then she went to San Diego at one point to work down there for some reason. I forget. It's a very colorful history. Yeah, very, very, very much so. Right. Were you ever on Johnny Carson or Letterman or any of those shows? I wasn't on them. I worked on them. I wrote a little bit for Carson, and of course, a lot of people who I wrote for were there. And we wrote the last one that he did with Robin Williams and Bette, and I worked on Bette's portion of it. And Letterman, I did the Oscars with when he hosted it, but I was never on the show. I was never on it. It was one of those. It's just one of those things. Yeah. It was when I was doing Hollywood Squares, Whoopi was who's who they wanted. She was the center square, and so we were promoting the show. That was who they went for. And I just never got on it. What can I tell you?
Yeah. Did you ever meet Johnny Carson?
Oh yeah, I knew him. Yeah, I knew him. He was a strange, driven person. He was very courteous. He wasn't warm. He was not. He had a certain kind of Midwestern chill, I call it. Although I don't know that it's classically Midwestern. It's just Gentile. That's what we Jews call people who are chilly. Gentile. Have a certain wasp thing about them. But he was. I never was involved in anything where he was cold. I mean, he was just pleasant. He was pleasant and courteous, and always sort of kept his distance. But he obviously had a great sense of humor, and really appreciated talent when he saw it. He was a big supporter of Bette's from the very beginning, and of mine too. I mean, he would just he'd see things I had done and would call me and compliment me. So wonderful. I knew him. Yeah. Great, that's exciting. I just thought he was the best, and I think he was kind of introverted from what I could see. Most magicians are. Yes, right. That's how he started. And he started as a magician, and of course he parodied that with Karnak and with the Carnival Barker and all those kinds of show business personalities that are where guys who are essentially shy get to put on a big personality as for show, and that they get to exercise that part of their lives that they never do in real life. Yeah, and he was one of those. I get the feeling you're not shy though. No, not really.
No.
Not really. And in fact, my nightmare version of me is, not shutting up and sucking all the air out of the room and the kind of thing that other show business personalities have a tendency to do. I don't want to be one of those.
Right.
So I want to be somewhere in the middle, maintaining a respectful distance from each of those extremities.
Yes. So someone who people love to work with.
Well, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I haven't written the book yet, because they'll say, "Gee, we always liked him. Who knew he was such a cunt?"
Until you decided that you want to change your life direction. Now I'm not
right. I mean, I'd like to be remembered as being okay, and not who knew he bitter and all that bile built up over the years.
Yes.
So I keep it inside. I don't cry out loud.
Yes. Let's not do that. And you knew Robin Williams. Wow.
Yeah, I did for years and years.
Sad. That really, really hit me.
It was awful. I mean, I don't think any of us who were his friends knew that he had this condition. I just assumed that when he had gotten that Parkinson's diagnosis, that he went into a depression because he couldn't be Robin. The prospect of not being Robin, I thought drove him over the edge. I had no idea that there was this other thing that was working. The
Lewy body dementia thing.
Yeah, but also I'd never met the last wife. That was he had a whole other life he had established that was kind of removed from the older friends. God knows he left this legacy of work that you can always look at and go,
oh yeah.
And I think that probably the stuff that he was doing after the $100 million movie period crested, he was doing these interesting independent pictures and smaller movies and character parts. And you'll when we look at them subsequently, we'll see how talented he really was when he wasn't doing Robin.
Yeah.
When he was investing himself in some other character altogether, he was really quite good.
Yes, like in some of the bigger pictures, like Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. That's the best example of it. But later on, there were other weirder things like 1 Hour Photo and I mean little movies where he was doing strange things.
You could
playing really odd independent film kind of characters.
Yeah, I like that.
Everything couldn't be Jumanji.
No, thank God. Thank God. I was listening. Mark Maron just interviewed Letterman a couple of days ago. That was interesting.
He's Letterman. Dave's kind of surfaced with this. Whatever it's a podcast or whatever.
TV show.
It's a Netflix show. I don't know, where he's interviewing people, and so he's
long form. Yeah.
And he's promoting it, and so he's suddenly becoming visible again.
Yeah, and he's really open now. He's not, you know how he was always very guarded, and he just kind of lets it all out. It's really interesting to listen to.
Yeah. He was on The View last week, and it was kind of classic Letterman. I mean, he came out, and they said hello, and he started telling a story, and the story lasted about 15 minutes, and it was a story that nobody else could really tell, and it didn't come to a rollicking punchline, but it had some wisdom in it, and it was bizarre because they couldn't really stop him. And I thought, well, this is classic Dave, Yeah. I mean, he's taking you on his trip. Yeah. And I thought it was refreshing because I hadn't been taken on that trip in a long time. Yeah. Yeah. But I love that he just kind of did it. It's like if they expected he was going to be one of their regular guests who's there to plug something and is going to answer their prefabricated questions. No, that was not the way it was done. No. Not the way. He was in charge for too many years to let that happen, I think.
So let's go over this one more time so people know. I have quite a few people that listen to this in the Bay Area. So
give them websites and numbers and
and I'll put it in the notes.
.orgs.
Yeah, so if I guess the best place to go is to REAF.SF. REAF.
Is that REAF is REAF?
REAF.
Stands for Richmond Ermit AIDS Foundation.
And probably just Google REAF Richmond Ermit AIDS Foundation. And I'll put all the links in the notes.
Broadway Bears, I think, if you Google Broadway Bears, the New York stuff will come up, and then the San Francisco. So
yeah, Broadway Bears San Francisco. You'll get it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You Google that, and you'll get there.
And it's June 16th, Father's Day. Bring your dad out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a great time. Maybe I can get my kids to bring me there.
Why not?
Put them in shock.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been good speaking with you. Thanks for taking the time, Bruce.
Pleasure.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side, oh, when times get rough, and pressures can be met like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the streets, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me Sail on.